The state fair ended on a sour note last night after yet another outbreak of violence. And today, police fear that the string of assaults may be race-related. ABC 5's James Swordsman joins us live with the details. James.
Well, Rachel, 2 officers were injured and 5 people were arrested last night, marking the 3rd time since Eastsider night that a large group of young black people were involved in assaults in or around the fairgrounds.
We had reports that these juveniles were attempting to assault white citizens. That's all under investigation at this time. Whether this has racial overtones or not, we are looking into that.
It's a fear that police have in writing. According to one of the police reports from Sunday's assaults, there was a large fight along East 30th Street with, quote, black male and female juveniles assaulting white citizens. As Des Moines police stepped in to try and break up the 40-person deep crowd, officers were met with heavy resistance.
We continue to try to move them along and disperse, and we were getting a lot of resistance from the crowd.
At that point, 2 officers were hit in the head from behind while trying to make arrests, forcing one of them to use a stun gun to get control of the situation. Chemical sprays were also used on the crowd to get things under control.
There were several groups of juveniles together. What I was told from some officers that it was like a swarm of bees.
This was the 3rd time large groups of young black people were seen assaulting people in and around the fair. The first being at the end of the fair's Eastsider night, and the second was on Friday. Police say that on Friday, a white man was severely assaulted by a group of black males and females, eventually fracturing his skull, an attack that police think may have been race-related.
In the police report, it states that a group of black males and females were out at the fair yelling out that it's Beat Whitey night.
And with yet another incident happening on Sunday under similar circumstances on the last day of the fair, it's hard for police not to think that all of these incidents are related.
These assaults which occurred from last Friday night to last night, we do believe they are related somehow.
And as I mentioned, 5 people were arrested after last night's assaults, and both of the injured officers walked away with bruises but weren't seriously injured. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm James Swordsman, ABC 5.
Good evening, everyone. Governor Scott Walker is now ordering the state patrol to provide extra security at the fair.
This after reports of mob violence on the fairgrounds last night. According to witnesses, a large group of black teenagers rampaged through the Midway late Wednesday, with several fights breaking out. Police say the violence then continued outside the fairgrounds after closing, and there were several attacks that may have been racially motivated.
Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn will be holding a news conference on the incident at any moment, and when that happens, we will bring it to you live.
So 16 people now under arrest, almost all of them minors, after police say a flash mob robbed a Sears store in Upper Darby Thursday night. 40 people rushed into the 69th Street store, grabbed anything they could carry. Officers arrested 15 juveniles and one 19-year-old, all from West Philadelphia. The group told officers the plan to ride the train and rob the store was hatched earlier in the day on a social
networking site. We now know hundreds
of
of teens planned this past Saturday's mayhem on the plaza. They did so online using websites like Facebook and Twitter.
And today, the Kansas City Police Chief and the Mayor are meeting about this violent night. Sloan Heller is live in the plaza with more on that. Good morning, Sloan.
Good morning, Curtis. You know what's also really shocking about all of this is that police tell us it appears that several adults, we don't know if they were teachers or parents, but several adults knew about this. They saw the posting days before this happened, but they didn't report any of it until after the fact, until yesterday. Now, again, I just want to paint a picture. You're going to see the video in a minute, but imagine 1,000 teens swarming the plaza, many of them gathering here. At one point, apparently, a group of them pushed a girl in her prom dress right into this fountain right over here. There was also a big crowd gathering over in the parking lot of Winstead's. There, a group of teens were hitting a teen with a metal pipe. That teen now has severe facial injuries. Throughout the night, it got so rowdy, several businesses decided to close early. Now, police tell us this was the third weekend in a row that they dealt with large crowds of teens, but this past weekend was by far the worst. An officer that we talked to this morning actually said that they did already increase patrols on Saturday. They had to use pepper spray, but it seems like we can expect even more changes come this weekend.
I think you have to have increased security, for one, because, it's a public safety issue for the kids that are involved. It doesn't take much nowadays for someone to pull out a gun or a knife and someone, that's just a spectator to be injured.
Now, one thing that we could see is a change regarding the curfew. Right now, the curfew is midnight for teenagers. Only the city council, though, has the power to actually change that to a different time. So we'll wait and see what happens. Again, we're waiting for a response from the police department. We're waiting to hear from the mayor. All of those meetings happening today. And then again, I'm sure we might, even in the coming days, hear from the city council. We're live on the plaza. Sloan Heller.
Police in Philadelphia say it's becoming a disturbing trend. Young people using social media outlets and text messages to arrange large gatherings on the city streets.
Not Leave It to Beaver type stuff we're talking about here. We are talking about serious crime being committed and people being injured. And if anybody thinks that that's a joke, then they've got another thing coming.
This video was taken Saturday when thousands piled onto South Street, prompting businesses to close early and police to bring in reinforcements. Television station WTXF says when Mayor Michael Nutter first heard about the rowdy bunch, he dismissed it, saying not much happened.
The mayor just wants to put it under the rug because he wants people to come to the city. If I lived out in the burbs, I wouldn't come to this city. It makes me wonder, do I really want to stay in this city when this is the way our mayor handles it?
That night ended with a few arrests, and the district attorney says some of the participants have been charged with rioting.
Some people think we should wait until people kill people before we're serious with them. Well, I think the time is when they're juveniles and they're doing things like this for them to know that antisocial behavior is unacceptable, and we're going to move forward and stop them.
Wednesday, Mayor Nutter said he was hopeful the so-called flash mobs will stop, but he says the police department is working with various law enforcement, including the FBI if necessary, to handle any other incidents. Brian Thomas, The Associated Press.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gloria Campos.
I'm Casey Norton. John has the night off.
It took just a matter of minutes, one, then dozens. It's not customers in this convenience store, but a mob. And what happened next nearly took the clerk's life. Channel 8's Monica Diaz has this News 8 exclusive.
It was an ordinary night at the Exxon Tiger Mart on South Polk and Interstate 20, August 26th. C.J. Thomas, a clerk, was behind the counter attending to customers. Around 10:12, a rush of customers came through the door.
There was more coming in than there were going out. Once they realized how many were in there, one of the students had started throwing stuff and screamed out, and after that, everything went crazy.
Surveillance cameras from different angles show bottles being thrown. Seconds later, the 20-year-old clerk runs to the front of the store. He tried to close the door, but he couldn't hold back the crowd. Some of them grabbed drinks, chips, and other items and started pushing their way out. Thomas says he tried to stop some people from stealing.
And in the process of them walking out, I tried to stop a student that had an armful of things in his hands. And when I tried to do that, he shoved me out into the parking lot and swung at me.
And then more punches came from everywhere. Thomas was pulled to the ground by several men. That's him in the blue shirt. Moments later, he says people started beating him.
I started to black out. All I could see were feet and hands on top of me, and they just wouldn't stop. I was terrified. Honestly, at first I thought I'd be able to get back into the store, and then once they got me on the ground, I thought they were going to kill me.
The fight lasted less than a minute. Thomas suffered cuts on his nose, eyes, and lip. He still has a bruised rib
At this
and
hour, a
bicep.
Chicago man is in bond court for his role in what police say was a mob attack on a tourist. The beaten tourist was just one of several victims hurt in separate mob attacks over the weekend, including an unsolved one last night in Streeterville. Anita Padilla joins us live with more. Good afternoon, Anita.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon to you, Larry. 4 separate incidents in Chicago over the weekend, and one of those cases is solved, and this is the suspect. He's one of 8 people who are charged in this case. The other 7 are all juveniles, but this is 18-year-old Mitchell Corrado Rao. He's charged with 1 count of aggravated battery and 1 count of mob action. This was stemming from an incident in the 500 block of State Street on Saturday night. Now, there was a separate incident, and he was not involved in this one, but in the separate incident that took place last night, it was a Chicago doctor that was attacked.
He had blood all down one side of his face, and I went out and he sat down and laid down on the ground because his head was bleeding so hard. And then we looked at the wound, and it seemed to be okay when we found it.
She is a medical student who treated the doctor who came into the building of the lobby where she lives at Delaware and DeWitt.
We've been in this neighborhood all day long talking with the people who live and work here, and they're telling us that out-of-control packs of young people, like the ones you're about to see in this video, are becoming a growing problem.
Take a look at this surveillance video just posted on YouTube. It's from inside a Dunkin' Donuts on Christopher Street. You see a group of young men and young women lifting up and slamming down chairs, pushing past the counter to grab donuts, and ripping open a refrigerator door, then pulling out drinks. People here tell us they're not surprised.
I look around, I don't really see a lot of patrol at any given time in this neighborhood. And too many people.
Some business owners told us they're too afraid to speak on camera for fear they'll be targeted. They say groups like the one in the video, wearing book bags, tear through their stores like a sudden storm, stealing anything they can quickly get their hands on.
Reporters Marjan Rostami and Dave Forster told police they were attacked by a mob while at this intersection. Even though Forster was punched in the face several times and Rostami was hit in the head, cheek, and eye when she tried to pull her colleague and friend back inside, police coded the incident as a simple assault.
You by yourself, or if you're not from around here or you don't know anybody around here, you're a target automatically.
The incident happened 2 weeks ago. Details of the alleged attack surfaced in an editorial in Tuesday's paper, explaining that editors hesitated to assign a story about their own employees, but printed it after tweets were found from people joking about the victims. The piece estimated there were up to 30 people in the crowd attacking the reporters.
And then with all that Trayvon Martin stuff going